over here, guys. Anyway, I'm back. And what do we have here is it's kind of a big deal to me because it's something that I've been screaming about for 10 years now. This whole idea that a caregiver or even a regular medical marijuana patient can grow 12 plants, but somehow at the end of that only end up with 2.5 ounces. Five tops. Like you give your patient 2.5 ounces from their 12 plants, and then you can keep 2.5 ounces of it for later too. There's been court case after court case that went against the grain of what we were hoping to do, which was to be able to take our extra cannabis to the dispensaries, and then they could sell it to people that don't have caregivers or can't, because not everybody can grow weed, not everybody can be a caregiver. So, you know, I've been screaming, yo, we need a system for the all you gotta do is make a rule. Caregivers are allowed to go to dispensaries. Dispensaries are allowed to exist. None of that happened. And then 2012 rolled around, and there was a Supreme Court ruling in Michigan that said dispensaries aren't even allowed. So if the cops and the municipalities want to shut them down for being a public nuisance, go right ahead. And raids ensued in a bunch of counties that didn't want them. They just shut them down. Exercise of authority. They didn't even every once in a while they gave the cease and desist letter, but they still raided them. No one's going to just pack it up, pack it in. So, and because the medical marijuana licensing situation is such a fucking, no one wants to say it, but it's a disaster. It's a mess. It's a total disaster. There's literally nobody has weed right now, first of all. I mean, they do if they are selling the stuff that they had before, which is still allowed all the way till the end of December now, according to this. But I guess that was a couple days ago, and I talked about that. So this is where we're at. Medical marijuana shops may be able to buy from caregivers in Michigan. Quick read, medical marijuana shops that have trouble buying pot from licensed growers may get a reprieve from regulators and a new regulatory system gets off the ground. As it gets off the ground, the State Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs proposed Wednesday that dispensaries be able to briefly source their marijuana product through caregivers instead of the licensed growers under certain conditions. Each registered caregiver has been supplying a limited number of patients since voters legalized marijuana a decade ago. Under the nascent licensing system, growers can sell marijuana to provisioning centers, which in turn can distribute to patients. But growers have not produced enough product initially. Huh? They're I don't know if they've had time to. Some of their licenses haven't been granted until just recently. So, but the ones that got the early licenses back in April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, you've had plenty of time to get a continuous grow going. Like, what happened to that? Like, did you just grow like one big crop and shoot it all out in one? But then again, they're even if they all were clicking like a well-oiled machine at this point in time, they're still going to be short because there isn't that many licensed. If you count all the plants that's been licensed to be grown, it's probably less than 50,000. And from what I understand, the overage, I've estimated the overage from caregivers to be around 1 million plants or 1.5 million. I don't know. It's kind of crazy to do the math. But this is also considering that caregivers are pretty smart about continuous growth systems. Like, they don't run out of product because they're always harvesting. I don't understand this running out of product shit. But whatever. Obviously, if the rules have been so tight that they can't, get stuff wherever. So a licensing board will consider the department's recommendations next week. Licensees could sell marijuana products received from caregivers through January, while growers could buy products from caregivers through February. Another little stipulation about this thing. Let's just read it. We'll read this update from Laura. Laura to make recommendations to Medical Marijuana Licensing Board regarding the supply of medical marijuana products. At a meeting of the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board next week, the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs will recommend the board pass a resolution to maintain safe patient access to medical marijuana. While it is still the best practice and recommended for licensing provisioning centers and licensed processors to source their marijuana product through licensed growers, supplementing the supply of medical marijuana products through registered primary caregivers, will assist licensing provisioning centers with meeting the needs of patients. Since patient access to medical marijuana is best served through the provisioning of medical marijuana products by licensed facilities, Laura's Bureau of Medical Marijuana Regulations, BMMR, will recommend that the MMLB pass a resolution on its December 7, 2018 meeting that acknowledges that the board will not take disciplinary action against a licensee in the following circumstances. This is very important. The board will not take disciplinary action against a licensed provisioning centers for purchasing marijuana products from registered primary caregivers as long as the following conditions are met. From the date of the board's adoption through December 31st, 2018. They must obtain signed patient consent prior to selling any marijuana products that have not been fully tested in compliance with the law and administrative rules. They must enter all inventory into a statewide monitoring system immediately upon receipt from a registered caregiver. They must enter all sales into the statewide monitoring system. From January 1st, 2019 to January 31st, licensees must obtain marijuana products only from licensed marijuana facilities. They must enter all inventory into the statewide monitoring system immediately upon receipt, and they may sell marijuana products received from registered primary caregiver and recorded in the licensee's inventory in a statewide monitoring system prior to January 2019, as long as the product has been tested in full compliance with the law and administrative rules. Doesn't say who's supposed to do the testing. So I guess that's going to have to be between the patient and the provisioning center now. But that's only until January 1st. After that, and until February 28th, this is what's up. Licensed growers and processors. The board will not take disciplinary action against licensed growers and processors for purchasing marijuana products from registered primary caregivers as long as the following conditions are met. From the date of the board's adoption through February 28th, 2019, licensees may obtain marijuana products from caregivers, may only transfer marijuana products that have been tested in full compliance with the law and administrative rules. Again, don't tell you who's supposed to. I guess, they're like, hey, you're all grown men here and adults of whatever, so you can decide between yourselves who's gonna go flip for the testing. But anyway, so in summary, if you're a licensed provisioning center, you can only get cannabis from caregivers up until January 1st. But then after that, and until February 28th, if you're a caregiver, you can no longer go to the dispensaries or the provisioning centers. Now, I don't know if that's true for the unlicensed provisioning centers. I don't know what's going on with that, but I guess, you know, they're looked at as, well, you got to follow the same rules, and if you're not, then we can mess with you. But until February 28th, a caregiver, and after January 1st, a caregiver has to take his marijuana to a place, or to a either a grower, a licensed grower, or a licensed processor. That's it. That's it. So, and there's another little kind of sticky thing here. From January 1st to January 31st, marijuana must be obtained only from licensed facilities. And if you still have the inventory of that caregiver weed hanging out at the provisioning center, it better have been tested. That's the stipulation there. And then after that, obviously, if a grower or processor has the stuff that the caregiver sold to them, well, then they can then go ahead and sell it to the provisioning center. Sets up a bunch of middlemen. It's all bullshit, I know, but that's the rules that they just put out. And here's something else they added. The board meeting, additional December meeting for the Medical Marijuana Licensing Board has been added. The MMLB is scheduled to meet at the Williams Building at 9:30 a.m. on Friday, December 21st, 2018. This meeting is in addition to the regularly scheduled board meeting on Friday, December 7th, 2018. Laura will stream both meetings through its Facebook page. So again, one thing I would like to say, if you're a caregiver and you want clarity on this once and for all, my final say is you will be able to, and this is obviously, it's temporary. If you're a caregiver after February 28th, 2019, that's it. There will be no more selling overage to, at that time it'll only be to growers and processors. So you'll be stuck with any overage that you have starting on February 28th, 2019. I say we need to push this. This is the first time we've seen in black and white in writing that caregivers have any rights, any legal ability to take their overage to the dispensary up until January 1st, or to the processors and growers up until February 28th. We've never seen them say that actually, yeah, you guys can take this to them. Now that we've seen that, it's a little bit like, oh, see? And I've been saying it all along, like, they can write emergency rules for this and emergency rules for that. Why can't they write an emergency rule that says we can take our overage somewhere? As you might have guessed, I'm a fucking caregiver, so this is kind of important to me. That's all I got on this, guys, to be honest. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, and I kind of had this other video about Senate Bill 1243. It's just kind of me kind of like going off on it. Where did I pull that quote at? Anyway, there's a lot of uncertainty in the business. And the thing about it is it's not really uncertainty in the business so much as it's got to be Laura and the people that are pushing this MMFLA, the new licenses for medical marijuana, what they're trying to do is take it over. They're trying to take it over from people like me, a grower who's been growing my whole life. I'm not shy about that. And I try to come into the shadows when they give us a little bit of light and they shut the door. That's not cool. And then the people that stuck out their necks and opened dispensaries, like Chad Morrow and others. You know, you stick your neck out and you do what you think is legit. His story is even more fucked up because he was working with the local zoning people to make it so his establishment was legal and legit and paying, you know, and then they dicked him. And that's the way it is, man. It's like everything they're doing and all the people that they're putting, you know, they make examples out of is designed to strengthen their resolve on having the ability to have it taken over by big corporate situations. And it doesn't even matter if it's their friends or not. They just don't want us involved. They don't want the people that have been doing this their whole lives to ever get a victory, as if you haven't noticed. And latest thing is the guy trying to take out the whole law that we just passed, Prop 1. He just wants to neuter the whole thing and make it the corporate takeover all over again. Alright, that's all I got again on this. Like I said, the only thing this tells me is that it's possible to push this even farther. So instead of letting this expire on February 28th or whatever that is, 2019, instead of letting that happen, we need to push to make this permanent and make it so we can just go get a test at the lab. Okay, you're good. And then we can take that batch, or that batch can be, you know, taken right to the provisioning center. Why do we got to go through the growers or the fucking processors? And yeah, we should also be able to sell to them too. Why not? So it's just absurd. But then again, when it comes to the growers, why would we need to sell to them? Why would they want to buy my overage on bud? First of all, that just doesn't even fucking make sense. It's like, you can tell people that write this shit. Can someone explain that to me? Because I don't know. Maybe I've been up too late and I'm kind of losing track of what I'm thinking and shit. So could be. But I just don't see any reason to really why any marijuana license grow operation that handles thousands of plants is all of a sudden going to let a caregiver in the back door with some clones or a fucking bunch of overage bud. They don't need it. They're fucking, unless they do because they suck at growing and they're like, dude, bring some shit in, help us out. I can understand that. But other than that, which shouldn't be a thing, because these people that want 6,000 plant grow facilities should be fucking master growers by now, you would think. Anyway, I don't know. You want a master grower involved in the corporate shit? Call me up and all the way give me $1 million, because I'm not loaning no $1 million and no one's loaning no $1 million. Peace.